The rain fell softly on the dome of Jeju Observatory. Dr. Jiho Park rubbed his tired eyes and sipped his cold coffee. It was past midnight, but he couldn't leave yet. The new deep space communication array needed testing, and tonight was perfect. Clear skies after the rain and minimal interference. Jiho was 32, with short black hair and glasses that kept sliding down his nose. He had worked at this observatory for 5 years, away from the busy cities of mainland Korea. Here, on this volcanic island, the stars seemed closer. System check complete, he muttered to himself, typing commands into his keyboard. The massive dish outside turned slowly, pointing toward a distant sector of space. His phone buzzed. It was his mother. "Yes, Mom, I'm still at work," he said, switching to Korean. "No, I haven't forgotten Grandma's birthday next week. Yes, I'll bring the rice cakes you like." He hung up and smiled. His mother always worried about him living alone, with the stars, as she put it. The computer beeped, demanding his attention. The system was ready for the test broadcast. Jiho needed to send a signal pattern, something with a clear structure that would be easy to identify if it bounced back from any objects in deep space. Most of his colleagues used simple, mathematical sequences, but Jiho had another idea. Last night, he had programmed a signal based on Ararang, an ancient Korean folk song his grandmother had sung to him as a child. He had turned the melody into a series of pulses and pauses. "Let's see how far you can travel," he said, finger hovering. Over the enter key he pressed it. The massive dish outside hummed with power as it sent the signal deep into space. On his screen, Jiho watched the transmission data. Everything looked normal. The test would run for the next hour, sending the signal pattern repeatedly. Jiho leaned back and opened his lunchbox. His mother had packed kimchi and rice, still warm. In the container, as he ate, he looked at the star map on the wall. Sometimes he wondered if anyone was out there. Looking back, little did he know. Someone was 47 light-years away, aboard the monitoring station, Eternal Vigilance. Sentinel second rank Lamat jolted awake as an alarm sounded. The Sentinel, a six-limbed being with silvery skin, moved quickly to the scanning console. "Impossible," Lamat whispered in the clicking language of the stellar concordat. The console had detected a signal pattern, not just any pattern, but one with the exact harmonic structure of an emergency distress code, one not used for over 3,000 cycles. It was the call sign of the Cedars, the ancient race that had founded the Concordat before mysteriously vanishing. Lamott's upper limbs trembled as they activated the communication relay to Central Command. "This is Monitoring Station 47B. We have detected a priority. Alpha signal from Sector 9-3-1. Authentication verified. It matches the ancient protocol, requesting immediate response." The reply came within moments. "Verification confirmed. Diplomatic vessel dispatched. Maintain surveillance." Glory to the Concordat. Lamont stared at the source coordinates. Could it really be? Had they finally found the lost Cedars after all this time? 3 hours later, Jiho was puzzled. The test signal had bounced back, as expected, from various objects in our solar system. But there was something else, a faint echo from much further away, with slight modifications to the pattern. "That's strange," he said, adjusting his glasses. "Probably just equipment error." He made a note in his log. Unusual return signal detected. Possible calibration issue with the new array. "We'll check tomorrow." Jiho shut down the system and gathered his things. It was nearly 3 a.m., and he needed sleep. Tomorrow was another day of stars and signals. As he drove down the winding mountain road to his small apartment, heavy rain started again. The wipers squeaked across his windshield, and the radio played soft jazz. Jiho yawned. Just another normal night at work. The universe, however, had other plans. In the following days, Jiho ran more tests on the communication array. The strange echo didn't appear again, and he soon forgot about it. Life returned to its regular rhythm. Mornings spent analyzing data, afternoons teaching astronomy to university students via video call, and evenings staring at the stars. 1 week after the signal test, Jiho's colleague Dojan Kong joined him at the observatory. Dojan was older, with gray hair and a serious face that rarely smiled. "You've been working too much," Dojan said, placing a lunchbox on Jiho's desk. "My wife made you some food. She worries about you." "Thank you," Jiho said, opening the box to find delicious-looking but I'm fine. The work keeps me busy." Dojan sat down across from him. "Any interesting discoveries lately?" Jiho shrugged. "Not really, just the usual star mapping and signal testing." He didn't mention the strange echo. It seemed unimportant. Now, little did Jiho know that across the galaxy, a diplomatic vessel called Harmonious Exchange was preparing to depart. The ship, nearly 2 kilometers long, with gleaming silver hulls, was the pride of the Concordat fleet. Ambassador Peldon stood on the bridge, 4 arms clasped behind their back, watching as the crew prepared for the long journey. "Captain," Peldon said, "how soon can we reach the signal source?" "Captain Norell, Her skin, the deep blue of high-ranking military officers, consulted her display. At maximum sustainable speed, we can reach the edge of the unknown system in approximately 90% of their days. The signal came from the third planet. 90 days, Peldon repeated. After 3,000 cycles of silence, what's 90 more days? Ambassador, the science officer, interjected. We should discuss the possibility that this is not the Cedars. The signal was ... imperfect. Peldon's inner eyelids flickered, a sign of irritation. The authentication protocols confirmed it. Who else could know those specific harmonics? The Cedars left us the ancient protocols to find them again someday. But why now? Why after so long? Perhaps, Peldon said softly. They need our help. The signal was a distress call. After all, the science officer looked doubtful, but knew better than to argue. The Concordat had searched for their founders for thousands of cycles. This was the closest they had ever come. Prepare departure procedures, Captain Norrell ordered, and send a message to the fleet. If this truly is the Cedars world, may need more than just diplomats. Back on Earth, 2 months passed. Jiho celebrated his grandmother's 80th birthday, submitted a research paper on deep space communication methods, and continued his regular work at the observatory. One night, as summer turned to fall, he was alone at the facility. A storm raged outside, lightning flashing across the sky. The observatory's backup generators hummed as the main power flickered. Jiho was about to leave when all his equipment suddenly came to life. Screens lit up, showing massive energy readings from the edge of the solar system. What? He whispered, adjusting dials and checking readings. The pattern was unmistakable. Something large, multiple somethings had just entered the solar system, and they were moving fast, heading directly toward Earth. Jiho's hand shook as he picked up the phone to call his supervisor. Sir, I think you need to see this, he said when Doyon answered. Something's coming. Probably just a meteor shower. Doyon replied sleepily. No, sir. These objects are slowing down. They're changing course. There was silence on the other end of the line. Then, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't call anyone else yet. Jiho put down the phone and stared at the screens. The objects would reach Earth in approximately 3 weeks at their current speed. That is, lightning flashed again. Illuminating his pale face, Jiho suddenly remembered the strange echo from his test signal months ago. A chill ran down his spine. Someone answered. Had someone come? And if so, who were they? Lieutenant Mina Kim stood on the deck of her Coast Guard vessel, the salt spray hitting her face. At 34, she was one of the most respected officers patrolling the waters around Jeju Island. Her short hair was tied back, and her uniform was spotless despite the rough seas. Weather report, ensign, she called to the young officer beside her. Clear skies expected all day, Lieutenant, perfect conditions. Mina nodded and looked out at the blue horizon. 3 months had passed since strange objects were detected entering the solar system. The government had kept it quiet, but Coast Guard patrols had doubled. Everyone was watching the skies and seas. Her radio crackled. Lieutenant Kim, radar is picking up something unusual, 20 kilometers south, moving slowly toward the island. Mina rushed to the bridge. The radar screen showed 5 large objects beneath the water's surface, arranged in a perfect pentagon formation. How big are they? She asked. Each one is about 200 meters long. Too big for submarines, and they're moving too smoothly. Mina's heart raced. Alert headquarters. Tell them possible first contact scenario. Then take us closer, but maintain safe distance. As their boat changed course, Mina grabbed binoculars and returned to the deck. The sea ahead looked normal, but something felt different. The air seemed to buzz with energy. Suddenly, the water began to bubble and churn. A massive shape rose from the depths, sleek and silver, with no visible windows or doors. It wasn't like any submarine Mina had ever seen. Water cascaded off its smooth surface as it hovered half submerged. Stop engines, Mina ordered. Her crew stood frozen, staring at the impossible sight. 4 more identical vessels surfaced, forming a circle around the first. They made no aggressive moves, simply waiting in perfect formation. Mina's radio burst with panicked voices. Similar reports were coming in from other Coast Guard ships. The military was scrambling jets. Government officials were being evacuated to safe locations. Lieutenant Kim, headquarters orders us to maintain position and await military backup. Her communications officer reported. Mina nodded, eyes never leaving the alien vessels. Tell them we're holding position. The center vessel suddenly opened. A seam appeared in its smooth hull, widening into a doorway. A ramp extended, touching the water's surface. 3 figures emerged. They walked on the water as if it were solid ground, moving toward Mina's vessel with slow, deliberate steps. They had humanoid shapes but moved with strange grace. Their bodies were covered in what looked like flowing silver clothing that rippled despite the lack of wind. All hands remain calm, Mina ordered, though her own heart pounded. No weapons unless I give the order. The aliens stopped 50 meters from the boat. One raised a hand in greeting. We come in response to the call. a voice said in perfect Korean, though none of the aliens seemed to be speaking. The words simply appeared in the air, like they were being placed directly into Mina's mind. We are the Stellar Concordat. We have traveled far to answer the distress signal. Mina took a deep breath. First contact protocols existed in theory, but no one had expected to use them today. I am Lieutenant Mina Kim of the Korean Coast Guard, she said clearly. We welcome you to Earth, but we sent no distress signal. The aliens conferred among themselves, their movements fluid and strange. The signal came from this island, the voice said. It bore the harmonics of the ancient protocol. Are you not the Cedars? Before Mina could respond, military helicopters appeared overhead. Jets screamed across the sky. The aliens looked up, and their postures changed, becoming tense, defensive. Please, Mina called out. They mean no harm. This is just our standard response to unknown visitors. But the aliens were already retreating to their vessels. The voice came one last time. We will speak again when there is less confusion. We will wait. The three figures disappeared into the center ship. All 5 vessels sank beneath the waves, vanishing from sight, though still visible on radar. Mina's radio crackled with urgent orders to return to base. Immediately, Dr. Ji-ho Park sat in a crowded emergency meeting room. Military officers, government officials, and scientists from around the world had gathered in this makeshift command center near Jeju's naval base. The aliens mentioned a distress signal with specific harmonics, the defense minister was saying. Does anyone know what they're talking about? Ji-ho's stomach tightened. He raised his hand slowly. Dr. Park, you have information? The minister asked. Ji-ho stood, adjusting his glasses nervously. 3 months ago, I conducted a test of our new deep space communication array. I sent a signal based on an old Korean folk song. It wasn't a distress call, just a test pattern. The room fell silent. You sent a signal into deep space without authorization, a military officer asked, voice hard. It was a standard test, Ji-ho explained. We do it regularly. But afterward, I detected an unusual echo. I thought it was equipment error. The defense minister looked grim. It seems your folk song accidentally matched some kind of alien distress code. They think we called them here. I should speak to them, Ji-ho said suddenly. If my signal brought them, maybe I can explain the mistake. Arguments broke out across the room. Some officials wanted to deploy more military forces. Others suggested evacuating the island. A few supported Ji-ho's idea. The door opened, and Lieutenant Mina Kim entered, still in her wet Coast Guard uniform. Lieutenant Kim, the minister acknowledged. You had first contact. What's your assessment? Mina stood straight. They didn't seem hostile. Sir, confused. Yes, they expected to find someone they called the Cedars. When our military appeared, they became defensive but didn't attack. Could you communicate with them effectively? A diplomat asked. They spoke Korean somehow, directly into our minds, but cultural understanding was limited. I believe we need someone who understands both the signal that brought them here and can explain our civilization. All eyes turned to Ji-ho. I'll go with Dr. Park, Mina volunteered. I've already established some rapport. After hours of debate, the plan was approved. Ji-ho and Mina would meet the aliens on a small, uninhabited island nearby. Military forces would watch from a distance. The next morning, Ji-ho stood beside Mina on a rocky beach. His legs shook slightly. Nervous, Mina asked, terrified. Ji-ho admitted, I accidentally invited aliens to Earth. Not how I planned to make history. Mina smiled. At least they seem peaceful, so far. The water before them began to bubble. A single silver vessel rose halfway out of the sea. The same 3 figures emerged, walking across the water to the shore. Close up, Ji-ho could see they were humanoid but clearly alien. Their skin shimmered, with a metallic quality, and they had no visible mouths. Their eyes were large and golden, with vertical pupils. I am Ji-ho Park, he said, voice steadier than he expected. I created the signal you received. It wasn't a distress call, but a test of our communication equipment. I apologize for the confusion. The aliens tilted their heads in unison. Then one stepped forward. I am called Taiho now. The voice appeared in their minds. I have taken this name from your language to ease communication. You are not the Cedars then? No, Ji-ho explained. We are humans. This is our homeworld. Taiho seemed to consider this. Yet you sent the ancient protocol signal. How did you learn these harmonics? I based it on a traditional song. Any similarity was pure coincidence. The aliens conferred silently among themselves. Finally, Taiho turned back. A remarkable coincidence. The council will be most interested. But if you are not our ancient allies, then we must determine if you are under the influence of our enemies, the Void Dominion. Mina stepped forward. We have never heard of the Void Dominion. We have no contact with any alien civilizations before today. Then we have much to discuss, Taiho replied. For if the Void Dominion learns of your world, you will need our protection. As the sun rose higher, humans and aliens began the difficult process of understanding each other. Neither realized that far out in the solar system, Dark ships were already awakening from ancient slumber, alerted by the sudden activity. First contact had only just begun, and already the stakes were higher than anyone could imagine. For days after first contact, the world was still in shock. News channels showed the same footage over and over: silver ships rising from the ocean near Jeju Island. Governments tried to maintain calm, but people panicked. Some fled cities, others held prayer meetings. Many just watched the sky and waited. In a hastily assembled command center beneath Jeju Naval Base, Ji-ho Park and Mina Kim sat across from their new alien contacts. The room was large and windowless, with screens covering the walls. Armed guards stood at every door. Taeho, the alien spokesperson, sat perfectly still. Two other Concordat representatives flanked him. They had names, now Tuhayan and Yuncho-san from Korean, to help communication. Your world leaders seem afraid. Taeho's voice appeared in everyone's minds. We came to help, not harm. Beside Ji-ho sat two newcomers to the contact team. Dr. Sun Woo-han was a brilliant scientist with thick glasses and messy hair. At 50, he was Korea's leading expert on theoretical physics. Yuna Cho, diplomat, in her 40s, had been flown in from Seoul to handle negotiations. You must understand our caution, Yuna said smoothly. This is our first contact with beings from another world. Sunwoo leaned forward. Can you tell us more about your technology? How do you communicate directly into our minds? Taeho's large golden eyes blinked. Simple translation, matrices. We sample brain patterns and project meaning. It is basic technology, many thousands of cycles old. A military officer entered and whispered to Yuna. Her expression remained neutral, but Ji-ho caught her slight frown. Excuse us for a moment, she said to the aliens. The humans stepped into a side room. What's happening? Ji-ho asked, once the door closed. Yuna's professional mask slipped. Every major military in the world is mobilizing. China has moved warships into the East China Sea. America has put its Pacific Fleet on high alert. Russia has activated its missile defense systems. That's madness, Mina said. The aliens haven't shown any aggression. Fear makes people do stupid things. Sunwoo muttered. Yuna rubbed her temples. The UN Security Council is meeting in an hour, but some countries aren't waiting for diplomatic solutions. When they returned to the main room, the aliens seemed different, tenser. Their skin flickered with subtle color changes. Your military forces are preparing for conflict, Taeho said. It wasn't a question. Precautionary measures only, Yuna assured them. Taeho tilted his head. We have intercepted your global communications. Many of your leaders discuss attack strategies. The humans exchanged alarmed glances. Of course, the aliens could monitor their communications. We're a cautious species, Ji-ho explained. We've never done this before. Perhaps, said Taeho, the Void Dominion already influences your world. What exactly is this Void Dominion? Sunwoo asked. You've mentioned them several times. The aliens conferred silently among themselves. Finally, Taeho answered. The Void Dominion is an ancient enemy of all life. They corrupt worlds and enslave populations. They destroyed the Cedars Hour founders 3,000 cycles ago. We have fought them ever since. And you think they're here, on Earth? Mina asked. The pattern fits. Yun's voice entered their minds for the first time. A world sends the ancient protocol signal, but claims ignorance. Your leaders prepare for war, rather than welcome potential allies. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the base. A voice on the intercom ordered immediate evacuation. What's happening? Ji-ho demanded, when a soldier burst into the room. Chinese fighters have entered Korean airspace, the soldier said. They're heading this way. American carriers are launching jets in response. The aliens stood as one. We must return to our vessels, Taeho declared. Wait, Mina called. This is just human politics. It has nothing to do with any Void Dominion. But the aliens were already moving toward the exit, escorted by nervous guards. We will contact our council, Taeho said. The situation is more complex than we anticipated. After they left, Ji-ho slumped in his chair. This is getting worse by the hour. Sunwoo was typing rapidly on his laptop. I've been monitoring deep space signals since they arrived. There's something else out there. Beyond Neptune, multiple objects, very faint signatures. More Concordat ships? Mina asked. I don't think so, Sunwoo said grimly. Different energy pattern entirely. Later that night, Ji-ho and Mina sneaked onto one of the alien vessels. Not to cause trouble, but because Taeho had invited them. Away from military oversight, they might learn more. The inside of the ship was strange and beautiful. Corridors curved in impossible ways. Lights floated without sources. Everything seemed alive, responding to touch and thought. Taeho led them to a circular room filled with holographic displays. This is our communication center. We have been speaking with our homeworlds. What did they say? Ji-ho asked. They are concerned. They believe your world may be compromised. They have authorized cleansing protocols if necessary. Mina stepped forward. What does that mean? Cleansing protocols. Taeho hesitated. If a world is beyond saving from void influence, it must be reset. The humans exchanged horrified glances. You're talking about destroying our civilization, Jiho said. Only as a last resort, Taiho assured them. But our council fears the worst. A Concordat battle fleet has been dispatched. It will arrive in 7 days. A battle fleet. Mina's voice rose. We're not your enemy. Then explain this, Taiho said, activating a display. The hologram showed Earth's military movement ships, planes, missiles, all converging toward Jeju Island. This is fear, not aggression, Jiho insisted. Humans fear what they don't understand. Taiho seemed unconvinced. Perhaps, but there is more. The display changed, showing the outer solar system. Small red dots blinked in the darkness beyond Neptune. These energy signatures match Void Dominion scout ships, Taiho explained. They are dormant now, but beginning to activate. Your signal may have awakened them as well as reached us. Jiho felt cold dread wash over him. You're saying these void enemies are already here. In our solar system, they may have been here for centuries, waiting. The Void Dominion is patient. They seed worlds with hibernating scouts, waiting for the right moment to strike. Let us see your translation matrix, Sunwoo said suddenly, entering the room behind them. I followed you, he explained to Jiho and Mina's surprised looks. I had a theory, Taiho hesitated, then led them to another room where a crystal device pulsed with light. Sunwoo examined it without touching. As I suspected, he said finally, it's translating concepts, not just words. When Earth's governments talk about defense and security, it's interpreting those concepts through the Concordat's historical lens. Meaning, Mina asked, meaning when our leaders say they're protecting Earth from potential alien threats. The Matrix translates it as protecting Earth from the Concordat, which to them means we must be aligned with their enemies. Sunwoo explained. A fatal misunderstanding, Jiho whispered. Taiho processed this information. If true, this changes much. But the void ships are still awakening, and our battle fleet still approaches. Then we have 7 days to prove Earth isn't compromised, Mina said firmly. And to prepare for these void scouts, Jiho added. As they spoke, far beyond Neptune, dark shapes stirred in the cold void. Ancient machines activated after centuries of sleep. The Void Dominion had detected the Concordat vessels and recognized old enemies. They began transmitting to their main fleet, calling them to a small blue planet that had just revealed itself to the galaxy. Earth now faced danger from two fronts: misunderstanding with potential allies, and awakening ancient enemies, and the clock was ticking. The United Nations Security Council room was packed with world leaders. Screens around the wall showed military movements worldwide. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. We have two options, the UN Secretary General said, her voice tired after 12 hours of debate. Surrender to these Concordat aliens when their battle fleet arrives, or fight a war we cannot win. Jiho Park stood at the back of the room beside Mina, Sunwoo, and Yuna. They had been flown to New York overnight to present their findings about the Void Dominion scouts in the outer solar system. There is a third option, Jiho said, stepping forward. All eyes turned to him. The scientist who caused this mess, someone muttered. Jiho ignored it. The Concordat thinks we're influenced by their enemy, the Void Dominion, he explained, but we've confirmed those enemies are actually here. In our solar system, if we can prove we're fighting against the Void, not with them, the Concordat might see us as allies. You want us to attack ships beyond Neptune? The American president looked skeptical. With what? Our longest-range missiles can't reach that far, and if these Void ships are as advanced as the Concordat, what chance do we have? Added the Russian leader. The door opened and a Korean military officer entered. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with a weathered face and calm eyes. His uniform carried the insignia of an admiral. Admiral Junho Lee, Korean Navy, he said with a short bow. I believe I have a solution. The Secretary General nodded. Proceed, Admiral. Junho walked to the center of the room. 3 years ago, Korea, Japan, and the United States created a joint space defense system. Officially, it was to track asteroids. Unofficially, He pressed a button on the table. The screens changed to show orbital platforms circling Earth. Long-range kinetic weapons, he continued. No nuclear payloads, just tungsten rods that can hit targets as far as Mars with incredible force. We call it Project Hammer of Dawn. Surprised, murmurs filled the room. Many leaders seemed angry at being kept in the dark about this system. That's still not far enough to reach Neptune, the Chinese premier pointed out. True, Junho agreed. But we don't need to destroy these Void Scouts, just get their attention. Dr. Park's signal can help with that. Jiho stepped forward. I can modify my original signal to target their exact location. It would be like shining a spotlight on them, and then the British Prime Minister asked. Junho's face was grim. Then we show these aliens how humans fight. My task force has been training for space-based warfare for years. We have specialized ships, pilots, and weapons. You want to wake up enemy aliens and pick a fight with them. The French president looked horrified. This is madness. With respect, Mina said, they're already waking up. And they've called their main fleet. We either fight them now, with surprise on our side, or wait for both fleets to arrive and hope for the best. Silence fell over the room as the leaders considered this. How would this even work? Someone finally asked. Sun Wuhan brought up a diagram on the main screen. Admiral Li's ships can launch carrier platforms into high orbit. From there, fighters equipped with experimental long-range missiles can fire toward the targets illuminated by our signal. Meanwhile, the orbital platforms drop kinetic rods on the same coordinates. The attacks won't destroy advanced alien ships, Junho admitted, but they'll show that we're fighting against the Void Dominion, not with them. When the Concordat battle fleet arrives, they'll see us engaged with their ancient enemy, and if the Concordat still decides we're compromised, asked the Secretary General, then we're no worse off than we are now, Jiho said quietly. After hours more debate, they took a vote. The plan passed by a narrow margin. Earth would fight to. Days later, Admiral Junho Lee stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Rocks, Sejong the Great. The massive destroyer had been retrofitted with experimental technology. Around it, a fleet of 20 ships from various nations formed a protective circle. All vessels report ready. Admiral, his first officer said. Junho nodded, and the orbital platforms aligned and waiting for targeting data. On a separate deck, Jiho worked with a team of scientists. They had modified his original signal into a targeting beacon. It would bounce off the void ships, revealing their exact positions. We're ready, Admiral Jiho reported over the com. But once we activate this, they'll know we see them. Understood. Proceed. Jiho took a deep breath and pressed the button. The ship's powerful communications array sent his modified Aerorung signal toward the outer solar system. On the bridge, screens lit up with new data. Contact. An officer called. 17 objects detected beyond Neptune. They're moving, sir, coming toward us. Junho picked up the secure phone that connected him to military leaders worldwide. All nations. We have confirmation. Void Dominion. Ships are active and inbound. Operation Hammerstrike is go. I repeat, Hammerstrike is go. Around the world, military forces sprang into action. Launch platforms fired into space. Fighter jets with special engines capable of reaching low orbit took off from carriers. The orbital platforms adjusted their aim. First wave launching in 5 minutes, Junho announced to his fleet. All hands to battle stations. Mina Kim, now serving as liaison between the military and the Concordat, entered the bridge. Admiral, the aliens want to speak with you. Junho nodded. A screen activated, showing Taiho's face. What are you doing? Taiho asked, his mental voice concerned. We detect massive weapons activation. We're fighting the Void Dominion, Junho answered simply. Your enemies are here. In our system, we've found them, and we're attacking them. Taiho's golden eyes widened. This is not wise. You cannot defeat them with your technology. We don't need to defeat them. We just need to show whose side we're on. Taiho was silent for a moment. The Void will retaliate. They will target your world directly. Then help us, Junho said. Our weapons launch in 3 minutes. Your ships can join us. Or watch. But Earth will not surrender to either side. Without a fight, the alien skin rippled with changing colors. I must consult with my companions. The screen went dark. Will they help? Mina asked quietly. Doesn't matter, Junho replied. We fight either way. On the tactical display, the first wave of kinetic rods dropped from orbit, accelerating toward the distant targets. Specialized fighters reached the edge of Earth's atmosphere, preparing to launch their experimental missiles. First impact in 30 seconds. An officer reported. Jiho joined them. On the bridge, his face pale but determined. The signal is working perfectly. We're getting clear returns from all 17 Void ships. Good work, Doctor, Junho said. Now we see if humanity's most dangerous fleet is dangerous enough. The countdown reached 0. On the screens, tiny flashes of light appeared near Neptune, the kinetic rods hitting their targets at incredible speeds. Direct hits, the tactical officer announced. Fighter squadrons launching missiles now. Throughout the bridge, a strange feeling grew. Fear, part pride. Humanity was fighting its first interstellar battle. Outmatched but unbowed. A new alarm sounded. Sir, the Void ships are accelerating toward Earth. Estimated arrival time. 18 hours. Junho's expression remained calm. As expected. Continue. The attack pattern. Another screen activated. This time, it showed all 3 Concordat representatives. Admiral Lee, Taiho said, we have contacted our battle fleet. They will arrive in 5 days, not 7. We cannot defeat the Void ships for you, but we can help you survive until reinforcements arrive. Thank you, Junho replied. But we'll keep fighting anyway. Taiho's mental voice carried what might have been respect. Perhaps you are not the Cedars, but you fight like them. Our vessels will join yours in 1 hour. As the screen went dark again, a small cheer went up from the bridge crew. Seems we've made our point, Mina said with a thin smile. The battle hasn't even started yet. Junho reminded everyone, but at least now we're not fighting alone. Outside, the stars watched impassively as humanity prepared for its first interstellar war. 16 hours after Earth's first strike, Admiral Junho Lee stood on the bridge of his flagship. Dark circles under his eyes showed his exhaustion. He hadn't slept since the attack began. "Status report," he ordered, voice steady despite his fatigue. "The void ships will reach Earth orbit in 90 minutes, sir," his tactical officer replied. "Our weapons damaged 3 of them, but the rest are still coming." Jiho, Mina, and Sunwoo watched from the side of the bridge. They too had stayed awake, helping coordinate Earth's defense. "What about the Concordat ships?" Junho asked. "In position around the planet. They've shared some defensive technology with our satellites." Junho nodded and turned to the large tactical display. It showed Earth at the center, surrounded by green dots representing friendly ships and red dots showing the approaching void vessels. "All nations report ready," another officer announced. "Chinese and Russian space platforms are armed. European fighters are in the air. American carrier groups are in position." For the first time in history, Earth's military forces were united. Against a common threat, old enemies now fought side by side. "The Concordat wants to speak with you," Admiral Mina said, holding out a communication device. Taiho's mental voice filled the bridge. "Admiral Lee, our sensors detect a larger void ship approaching ahead of the others. It appears to be there. Command vessel, can we target it specifically?" Junho asked. "Yes, but it will have the strongest defenses." Junho considered this. "If we take out their leader, will the others retreat?" "The Void Dominion does not retreat," Taiho replied, "but they may become disorganized without central command." Junho made his decision. "We'll focus our main attack on their command ship. All other vessels target the smaller ships." As the orders went out, Jiho approached the admiral. "Sir, I've been analyzing the void ship's communication patterns. They use a frequency similar to my original signal. I might be able to disrupt their coordination." "Do it," Junho ordered, without hesitation. Jiho hurried back to his workstation. Sunwoo joined him, and together they began reprogramming the communications array. On the tactical display, the red dots drew closer. Tension filled the bridge. 1 hour until contact, the tactical officer announced. Junho stood tall, hands clasped behind his back. "Launch all fighters. Activate orbital defenses. This is what we trained for." High above Earth, space lit up with energy as the first void ships entered range. They were dark, jagged vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Unlike the smooth silver Concordat ships, these looked like twisted nightmares of metal and shadow. Earth's defense began with a barrage from the orbital platforms. Tungsten rods accelerated to incredible speeds, struck the lead void ships. Explosions bloomed in the silence of space. Direct hits on 2 enemy vessels, the tactical officer reported. "Minimal damage. Keep firing," Junho ordered. "Launch the missile swarms." From Junho's fleet and others around the world, specially designed missiles streaked upward, thousands of them, each programmed to track the void ships. The void vessels responded with weapons of their own, beams of dark energy that sliced through several missiles and 1 orbital platform. "We've lost Beijing Platform 3, an officer reported, grimly. The 3 Concordat ships rose from the ocean, joining the battle. They moved with incredible speed, firing silver pulses that seemed more effective against the void ships. "The enemy command vessel is entering range," Taiho's voice announced. "It is larger than we anticipated." On the displays, a massive shadow appeared. The void command ship was nearly twice the size of the others, shaped like a twisted claw, reaching for Earth. "Full weapons, focus on the command ship," Junho ordered. Earth's combined firepower turned toward the monstrous vessel. Missiles, kinetic rods, and fighter jets converged on it. The ship's defenses flared, destroying many attacks, but some got through. Explosions rippled across its surface. "It's still coming," someone said. Below deck, Jiho and Sunwoo finally completed their work. "Broadcasting disruption signal now," Jiho reported over the com. A modified version of the Ararong melody, twisted and reversed, blasted toward the void ships at full power. On the tactical display, the red dots briefly scattered, their formation breaking. "It's working," Mina exclaimed, but the advantage was short-lived. The void ships quickly adapted, resuming their attack with even greater fury. Energy beams struck Earth's atmosphere, causing auroras and electromagnetic disturbances worldwide. Communications failing in multiple regions, an officer reported. "Power grids going down across Asia and Europe." Junho's expression remained determined. "Maintain formation. Keep firing." The battle raged for another hour. Earth's defenses weakened with each passing minute. 2 Concordat ships were heavily damaged. Half of Junho's fleet had lost power or weapons capability. Fighters fell from the sky as their systems failed. Just as hope began to fade, a new alert sounded. "Massive energy signature detected." The sensor officer called out. "Something big just entered the solar system." Taiho's voice came through with excitement. "The Concordat flagship has arrived ahead of the main fleet." On the displays, a massive silver ship appeared near Mars, moving faster than anything they had seen before. It was enormous, at least 5 kilometers long, shaped like a gleaming spear. The void ships are breaking off their attack, the tactical officer reported with disbelief. They're turning to face the new arrival. The Concordat flagship didn't slow down. It plunged straight toward the void formation, firing weapons unlike anything Earth had seen. The space between planets lit up with energy as ancient enemies engaged each other. Target the command ship again, Junho ordered. While it's distracted, Earth's remaining weapons fired once more. This time, with the void command ship focused on the Concordat flagship, the attacks penetrated deeper. A particularly large explosion tore through its central section. Direct hit, someone shouted. The void command ship began to break apart. The smaller vessels, suddenly without leadership and facing a superior Concordat warship, scattered. They're retreating, Mina said, hardly believing it. Not retreating, Taiho corrected. They're going dormant again. It's their survival protocol. The Concordat flagship slowed its approach, taking position near Earth's moon. The battle wasn't over, but the immediate danger had passed. 3 days later, a formal ceremony took place aboard Admiral Junho's flagship. The ship had been repaired enough to host representatives from Earth's nations and the CONCORDAT. In the main hangar bay, decorated with flags from around the world, Junho stood before a podium. Beside him were Jiho, Mina, and Suwoo. Across from them stood Taiho, in a new figure, tall and regal, with skin that shimmered like platinum. Ambassador Peldon, Taiho introduced, commander of the Concordat flagship and representative of our council. Peldon stepped forward. When they spoke, their mental voice carried a depth that Taiho's lacked. For 3,000 cycles, we searched for the Cedars, our founders who vanished, fighting the Void Dominion. We believed your signal meant they had returned. Instead, we found something perhaps more valuable, a young species with remarkable courage. The ambassador turned to face the assembled human leaders. Your tactics against the Void Scouts were unexpected. The Concordat fights with precision and calculated strategy. You fought with adaptation and unpredictability. The Void had no defense against such methods. We just did what we had to do, Junho said simply. That instinct to survive, to protect your world at all costs, we had forgotten such passion. Peldon continued. The Concordat offers Earth's formal alliance. We will share defensive technology and knowledge. In return, we ask that you teach our military your unconventional tactics. The UN Secretary-General stepped forward to accept. Earth welcomes this alliance. Together, we will face whatever comes next. And something was coming. The Void Dominion's main fleet had been summoned. It would arrive within a year. But Earth would not face it alone. After the ceremony, Jiho found himself standing with Mina near a viewport, looking at the stars. Hard to believe one accidental signal changed everything, he said. Mina smiled. Your grandmother's song saved humanity, and nearly destroyed it first, Jiho added with a rueful laugh. Ambassador Peldon approached them. Dr. Park, Lieutenant Kim, the Concordat is forming a joint science team to study both our technologies. We would be honored if you would join. Meanwhile, across the hangar, Admiral Junho was speaking with Concordat military officers. They watched with fascination as he explained Earth's chaotic battle strategies approaches. Their rigid civilization had abandoned ages ago. What began as an accidental signal had transformed humanity from an unknown species to the Concordat's most valuable new ally. Earth's most dangerous fleet, dangerous not for its technology, but for its unpredictability and determination, would soon teach the stars how humans fight. And somewhere, in the darkness between stars, the Void Dominion's main fleet approached. Unaware that their ancient enemy had found unexpected new allies on a small blue planet,